All right, on this episode of Local Film Talk, Bob's out of town. I'm in charge. I'm here with Mike Howard and Dean Garris. Check it.
Check it.
Credits, credits, credits. All right, hi, and welcome to Local Film Talk. I'm Konrad Arnold, trying the film community. Bob is currently in Europe. He's been sending me pictures of balls and dicks from all sorts of fine art in Paris. I don't know why. Thanks, Bob. You're back in town. Revenge will be mine. Today, I'm here with Michael Howard, director of Where We're Meant to Be. I'm going to switch over here. There you are. And Dean Garris, whose latest film, Chicken Pot Pie, is yet to be seen, but it should be in Film Spark.
Let's hope. Let's hope I get in.
Yeah, let's hope. Real quick, if you want to hear this audio only and not look at our pretty mugs, then iTunes has our podcast. Subscribe to that, rate it, leave a review. It's really important. It knocks us up in the ratings. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. That's how you stay up to date on this. And then leave comments. Tell us what you think, because we actually care.
Bullshit.
Thank you, Dean. Dean doesn't care, but I care. Just recently, a couple days ago, we had our screening of Fever Dreams and Hobgoblins over at the Cary Theater. It was a really nice turnout. We had a really positive response to it. That was pretty cool. Upcoming events. Triangle Film Community has its next meetup in Durham, May 31st, 7 p.m. at the Hope Valley Brewing Company. RSVP on the event page. Come out, hang out with your local filmmakers, get drunk with us, because that's how we like to roll. If you're under 21, do not get drunk with us. Just bullshit us a lot. And
But you can still roll, right?
If they're under 21, they can still roll. Yes. And with that, this is our quickest intro ever, and we can get on with the show. Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
Great.
I never know when we're on camera or not. It's
You're on camera.
It's a very off-putting sensation.
Yeah. I don't have red lights on these cameras, so you never know, but they are on you.
You never know.
Thanks so much for coming out and doing this. All right, so to get this conversation sparked, I went ahead and posted the question to the group, like, hey, we're going to talk about general filmmaking. What's been on the minds of the Triangle Film community? And biggest thing seems to be, where is the North Carolina Film Office? Where's our incentives, which, aren't here anymore. So let's start with that.
I'm not entirely sure how film incentives from the North Carolina Film Office are affecting indie films, since we don't get any
They're not,
incentives.
yeah. It's not even, you have no chance.
I mean,
so.
I think the questions come from people who maybe worked as extras or worked as some crew on other productions that were here. I think that had a much more of an effect in the Wilmington and the Charlotte area than it does in the Raleigh.
Yeah, and most of it's stuff that's coming from out of town anyway. I mean, even some of the examples that were on Facebook, where, like the Dirty Dancing remake or TV series or different things like that. And those are all big time productions, that are getting $6 million or $10 million, and that's from the incentive back. So, the productions themselves, cost much more than that if that's the percentage they're getting back. And so a true indie film, even a good indie film, or not a good indie film, an indie film with a good budget of, 1.2 million or whatever, 800,000, something, huge like that most of us will never see in this level, aren't really going to have much chance at those incentives. Such a small amount as it is now, that's not really a percentage they're going to get. And then the film office itself, unless you're in that bracket of 5 million, say whatever multi-million-dollar production you're working on, they're not there for you. They're not able to offer much help, unfortunately. So they're still there. The NC Film Office has now been combined with other non-film departments, and so there still is a film office, but it is their time that's already limited really is reserved for those multi-million-dollar projects, which are, again, normally coming from out of state. And so if you go and sit down with them, they're essentially, as an indie filmmaker, if you go and sit down with them, they're essentially now kind of a middleman to lead you to other places that can help you. So if you need to shut down a street in Raleigh, they can get you like phone numbers for the events people in Raleigh, and it might be a department that, normally closes things down for 5Ks or things like that, but they can get you the information or to the right people on closing down a street or whatever for your project. But short of that, there's not much help you'll get from them, unfortunately.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned larger films, because when I read that same thread, and it didn't sound like they actually had that money in hand. It sounded like possible grant. I think that was what that user kept putting, like it's eligible for a possible grant.
Gotcha.
So many
Could be,
millions.
yeah.
I have no idea like what's going on there. But you're absolutely right. The incentives were really never going to work for most indie film here. Because what was it? You had to spend at least $1 million.
Yeah, in fact, I don't even know anymore. It's kind of changed a little bit over the last few years when it kind of fell apart as it was, and so yeah, unfortunately, I don't know that just because it's so out of the realm of anything I'll be using most likely. That I don't remember all the specifics. I mean, it's out there; you can get the information on it, but yeah, even like you said, I think that's earmarked for certain productions, and then once it hits that limit, it's all gone anyway. And so even if you have a $1 million film, I don't know that you're going to get much of that anyway with a $20 million film or production coming in that's getting a good majority of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it does suck for the people who are making their living working on films, but I think the budget for your film was like 20 grand, right?
a little more than that, yeah, between 25 and 30.
Yeah.
And we would have had no choice, no chance, nothing.
There's no way to get an incentive on that.
No, I mean, we sat down with them. We didn't really, there was nothing the NC Film Office could even do for us. We sat down with them and talked to them, and like I said, they were kind of a middleman, and he kind of had some ideas of who to send us to, but they didn't really have much information they could offer. And then on top of that, even the NC Film Office site, and this was a little over a year ago, so it may be updated by now, but I don't think they're really actively updating it. But we would go on there and look. They had locations, and they said if you need a church, if you need a warehouse, whatever, and then we would call those places. And they had no idea that they were even on the site, and they said, no, we don't allow filming here. I don't know why we're on there. And we're like, okay, well, that's where we got your information from. So even that aspect of the NC Film Office, which is already in place, I think is pretty outdated from back when the NC Film Office was bigger and helping productions more, and then now it's just kind of fizzled, with how much they update it.
Well, if I remember right, the North Carolina Film Office is really just one guy now, right?
Yep.
There's no one else. Yes, Dean?
I think he's just making
Heard a rumor that his name was Hank.
Hank.
Could be wrong. Probably am.
Okay, so there's one guy possibly named Hank.
Right.
And he sits in an office with his red stapler waiting for
Exactly.
big LA people to come.
Right.
If Nicole was here, she could tell us, because she worked with him for a bit. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, they to be fair to the NC Film Office, again, like you said, they're not just doing film, and like I said, they're in different departments combined, and so they've got their hands in a lot of different things. But they were super nice. They wanted to help as much as they could. There just wasn't much that they could help with. But yeah, it is one single guy, and doing a lot of different things, so it is quite limited.
Well, have you guys heard of the Triangle Film Commission? It's there's a little office. Apparently, the guy who runs that isn't even in the state. He's in Texas or something.
Gotcha. I've heard of it. I haven't used them or talked about
I haven't heard of it. What have you heard?
Not too much. They got a little office. I think it's down on Fayetteville Street. But like I said, the guy's not even in the state. Their website doesn't really look well put together, but there's a list of locations and stuff. I haven't checked with any of those locations. I went on there looking for an office, and it just the locations that were listed on there seemed kind of weird.
There aren't a lot of good websites to go and find locations in the state. I mean,
There's not, yeah.
Can't even trust the NC Film Commission. And
Yeah.
There's really nowhere to go. You just kind of. That's the hardest part about indie filmmaking, in this area at least, is that locations, finding the right locations.
It is, yeah. I mean,
You spend so much time just trying to find and nail down your locations.
I mean, we needed a certain church, you know, because we had exterior and interior needs for it for the film, and you know, really Google Maps. We'd go on Google Maps and we'd kind of look at all the ones around Raleigh and Cary where they're located. We'd use the satellite images to see if the exterior worked, and then it's all legwork of going out and doing that. Restaurants, things like that. You got to go find restaurants that work, and then hopefully they'll be interested in helping you, which is very tough. And locations
for the man
are
and the
tough.
seller, I ended up calling realtors to try and find a basement for that film.
Yeah, did it work? Did that help?
Yeah, we contacted one realtor, and because we knew we'd probably have to shoot in like the historic district downtown, because those are the only houses that are going to have basements. So we finally found one. But
So is it somebody that just hadn't sold yet? Because we tried to contact realtors for an exterior scene, like of a kid leaving on a bike, and because people were trying to sell the houses, they had no interest in us.
well, this is
selling
one
the
that was
houses.
getting flipped. So the
Gotcha.
contractor was coming in a couple of weeks, so we had a very short window to get in there. And so we were all set, ready to go, and then the contractor didn't want us to go in and film because it was a horror film, in the event that it might, affect the sale later.
Yeah.
But the realtor was pretty cool. She knew somebody that had a basement, and we just ended up going to their house,
Oh, cool.
commandeering it for a couple of weekends. We didn't even know them. We just
At
went
least
to their
they're, yeah.
house and set up.
And it worked good. I mean, it looked good. It was
Yeah,
good
it
production
worked.
value for it. So
It
yeah.
worked. But I mean, but that's the kind of things you got to do. You just got to kind of think outside the box for finding locations.
Yeah.
Because there's actors that are around, and they're on the website, so you can find them. And then there's crew around, because you can go to film groups like Triangle Film Community, find crew. But locations, there are not any location scouts that are out there that are like.
Yeah.
Well, there is one that I know of. She has a partner. Her name is Carlene. Blanking on the last name. It sounds really similar, but she did locations for Unbridled. She does locations for a lot of other productions, and she and her partner were both commercial realtors, and they broke into being location people. And hopefully we're going to have her on a future episode talking about locations. But the caveat here is, when you don't have a lot of operating money to work with, all the locations that she can bring you are definitely going to cost you.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to kind of figure out that free location. But there's at least one. But
Well, the short I did Parlay, we needed like a older style, kind of like, turn of the century decorated kind of something, just kind of felt a little surreal. So we ended up finding a bed and breakfast to shoot, but we couldn't shoot there because they would have guests that stayed there. But they would let us shoot if they didn't have any guests. So what we ended up doing was most of our production budget went to renting out all the rooms. It kind of worked out.
Oh wow, interesting.
Because we had rooms for our cast to stay that were coming from out of town, right?
That's
But
a good
we were
idea.
there in
yeah.
the house the entire weekend. I mean, we just rented out the rooms, and they were fine with it because they lived off of the house.
How many rooms was that? Was it pretty pricey? Or?
Like 3 or 4.
Oh, okay. A little manageable, yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's a good idea.
yeah, that's nice, man. That's a good workaround.
And that's the way you do it. I mean, it's just being creative in those ways and, finding those things. But it's tough too, because the problem also with finding locations, and we ran into this as well, is that if you find a place that has allowed films there before, you're going to run into two things. One, the film that was there before did a shitty job and they broke something, they took up more time than they said, and they just put a bad taste in the mouth of the person. Or it was a studio or a professional, that could come in with lots of money, and they gave them a bunch of money. So when you come in and say, hey, can we give you $200 or $300, or can we do it for free and just maybe pay the managers, hourly rate or whatever that has to be there to open it or whatever, they're like, well, this place came in and they gave us $10,000, or this place did this or whatever. And so now that's kind of in their head. And we ran into a couple places that, like the Jackass people, when they did Bad Grandpa and stuff, came in and they threw a bunch of money out, and you can't compete with those. And so now it's even harder because as more and more people are making films and more productions are going around Raleigh and all these places, you have to be careful of that as well. Even if you find a good location, that you may not be able to get it just for those kind of reasons.
Thanks, jackass. You ruined locations for Raleigh.
You guys are such jackasses.
Well, it's funny because we did a 48-hour film festival, a 48-hour film, and it was at this grocery store in Apex that was just this cheap kind of crappy rundown grocery store. And one year they let us shoot there while they were open for business, and we had kind of run of the place, and it worked real well.
You were on Medico's team that year?
Yeah,
I know that.
And then we went back the next year, like a month or two before the 48-hour film festival, just to try to find places saying, hey, if we need a grocery store, can we use your place again, on June, whatever it was. And that was one of the ones where there was a scene from Bad Grandpa where he came in with the kid, and you can see it in the trailer, he stuffed like bread down his pants, and they made a dick joke about it and stuff like that. But because Universal or whoever had gone in there and shot there, he wanted like $10,000 just for us to shoot for an hour or two on a Saturday. Or like, we were here last year, it was new owners and things like that, and they just did not care. They're like, nope, this is our new standard. We know that we've made this, and that's what we want. And so that was no longer a viable option. So
yay.
Yeah, sucks when things like that happen.
Because that's a neat little grocery store down there. Nice and old school.
Yeah.
I'm trying so hard to switch and be present at the same time. It's
Live
not
switching.
easy.
Just stay on you, man. Just stay on you the whole time.
Are you manually switching the camera?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm using the keyboard.
Ready, camera 1, and camera 1, go. Ready, camera 2, and you go.
Yeah.
Just stay on you, and we'll just talk. We'll just be these distant heavenly voices, and
Sure.
it's on your visage the whole time.
Conrad's schizophrenic journey through local film talk. Yeah. No, locations. They're definitely a pain, man, and the biggest pain of all is like trying to find a bar or a restaurant.
Yeah.
Because even when you luck out and you get it, like they're always prepping for the dinner service, so you got all that noise coming out of the kitchen and whatnot. But I got no punchline there. It's just that's my usual gripe about locations. You can't have even when you have it, you don't have a controlled set, and it's usually costing you money because you're paying someone to watch over you the whole time.
Yeah, and it's tough too because it's hard to give them realistic time frames, obviously, with a film. And some of the places we shot, we said, okay, we're going to be there from like 9 to 5, and then there's some sort of delay. When we did it, there was like a street fair, and so it really delayed us getting in there, get everything set up, so we weren't quite done at 5. And so then you kind of run into opportunities like, well, do we have to be out at 5, or can we push it to 6 or 7? And you got to hope that they'll be cool about it and let you do that. But that's just another thing that sometimes you might only have that drop dead date, drop dead time before, like you said, dinner service starts, or you have to be out or whatever. And if you're not done, you're screwed, especially if they don't let you come on another day to finish it up or whatever.
Well, on your film, you got a really nice restaurant location for the opening scene.
Yeah.
At what was it, Zinda?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How did that work out?
That was actually kind of the street fair example. We got really lucky, and literally, I think almost every single restaurant and cafe and anything that was closed on Sunday in Raleigh, I saw it. I went to every single one, and we, some of them didn't work, because it was a night scene, and so we weren't far enough away from windows, or we couldn't cover the windows or whatever. But every place that was closed on Sunday was our goal, because it was 12 pages. We knew that it was going to be a full day, and even that was super fast. We had 2 cameras, and we were still very tight on time. And we got really lucky that Alex, they're not there anymore. They've closed down, but Alex was the manager at the time, and just was very cool about it. And he came in, and they were super cool because they allowed us to move tables. He brought out plates and stuff from the kitchen, that we could use as, props, and, their pitchers and their cups and things like that. So, there are locations out there, like you said, you find this basement or this bed and breakfast, things that are willing to work for you, but you might literally be checking out 70 or 80 restaurants before you find that one that can accommodate your shoot, has the right look for your shoot, and then also, the people are cool with it and, you know, on board and excited about it. So, you know, pre-production is key there. You know, it's one of those things that if you have a film that you have to have a certain location or something on, then you're going to want to start early, because if you're wanting to shoot in 2 weeks, you know, you may not find that location you want in that time.
Yeah, locations, especially when you're getting them on the cheap, can drop out
Yeah.
often. So
Yeah.
we experienced that a lot on the Superfems.
I was about to ask, would
That was the most horrible location finding
Yeah.
experience.
You had a lot too, so.
Because, yeah, it's a comic
big.
books and everything's at night, and so you need a lot of like basements and villain layers and stuff, and it was impossible to find. I mean, we had different episodes that required different kind of like villainy style layers.
Yeah.
And we were only really able to get like one location.
But you made it work, man. You guys had a lot of production value and had a lot of cool looking locations. Or even if it was like a back alley or a bar or things like that,
I appreciate that.
it looked much better than
It was all
it seems
duct tape.
like with one.
It was
Yeah.
really all duct tape.
Well, I remember on Superfems we were shooting at that sign shop right behind Oak City Roasters, and you know, that was great. You know, that was really cool. It had like a little warehouse. It was all filled with boxes and whatnot, and it really was twisty turning through there. And it also felt like if I took a wrong step, I'd probably get tetanus. But it was cool, man. You did have a lot of locations, and I know that sometimes something fell through. Like you had a warehouse kind of set up, and then like it just disappeared or whatever.
Yeah, it just didn't happen. So we had to go back to a warehouse we'd previously shot at and shoot like a different layer. And the owners were really cool about letting us come out, though I only pitched like a couple of hours for reshoots and ended up taking an entire day.
Yeah, that's the trouble.
But they weren't using it, so
That's good. That helps. Yeah, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say it's you know, just took time to kind of mock up that this was someplace different.
And that's where the creativity comes in, and you know, that's something to think about for, you know, people who want to be indie filmmakers is have those backups and have things like that, like maybe different ideas of how to dress a set or something. We were supposed to shoot in the NC Museum of Art, and we worked with them for 2 months, and they had concerns, and we changed things around to make those concerns. They had offered expansions like us to be able to shoot in the gallery areas rather than just the seating area, and so everything seemed really cool and perfect. And then it was, I think, 10 or 11 days before we were shooting, that's when we had SAG actors coming in, and it could only be this date. They backed out, and they weren't able to accommodate. They weren't able to let us shoot on that date anymore. And luckily we had a couple galleries, like smaller galleries that we had scouted and kind of had in mind before we landed the NC Museum of Art that we were able to go back to, and one was there. But if we hadn't had that, we would have been screwed. I mean, it was a huge ending scene and had a lot of things that we needed to work out for that location. So yeah, have backups of places, have, you know, plans and ready for those backups if you have to
Plan
make it
Bs
look like
are
different.
necessary.
Okay, so after that snot break,
So where do we go from here?
fundraising, I believe we wanted to talk about. So
Yeah, Evelyn
Let's-
asked about fundraising.
yeah, Evelyn Putnam, makeup artist extraordinaire. She brought up fundraising. So let's talk about fundraising.
Well, you've done fundraising like Kickstarter and stuff, yeah?
I haven't done a Kickstarter.
Oh,
I haven't
okay.
done an Indiegogo. Haven't done any kind of online
Oh, okay.
fundraising. I've just word of mouth, going to people, talking to them, trying to get them to
No, well,
invest money.
what are your feelings on crowdfunding in the first place?
You want to go first?
Sure. I think crowdfunding is great. I mean, it's a tool. I mean, it's a tool to get your film made, and I think it's awesome that you can go directly to who your fan base is going to be and say, hey, look, we're going to make this. Can you help us? And you can offer things exclusively to that fan base in return for that. It's a great tool, and if you use it correctly, you know, if you fundraise it correctly, I mean, you can do great things with it. I haven't tried it personally, but I've seen other people that have great success with it.
Yeah, I'll play the devil's advocate on it. I mean, I do agree. I do think, crowdfunding is great. It can result in a lot of great things. The only problem is that I've seen, and we kind of grappled with, where we're meant to be. Should we do a Kickstarter or anything like that? The only problem I see with kind of smaller indie scale films is that 95% of your funding is going to be friends and family. Short of having some sort of special type of film that you're making, like Atari. They made a documentary. I don't know if you heard about this. Atari, there was a legend that Atari went and they dumped a whole bunch of these games and consoles in a landfill, including, the E.T. game, which is considered one of the worst Atari games there's ever been.
One of the worst E.T. games?
One of the worst Atari games there's ever been. I corrected it. You'll hear it on the replay. And and so someone had this idea of making this documentary. And so that's one that it's a very specialized type of project. There was one on the Superman movie that almost was with Nicolas Cage. That's a very specialized topic that, they were successful in their crowdfunding. But I think, if I'd done crowdfunding with Where We're Meant to Be, I know 95% of it would have been my friends and family who kind of like, all right, well, we'll give them, $20 here or there. And those aren't the people that I want to, kind of have giving up their money for me. I'd be appreciative, it'd be awesome. But at the same token, there's not really that fan base. Unless you have a fan base, unless you have a crowd behind it, it makes it really tough for those things, especially if you're looking for something more than, $500 or $1,000. If you're looking for, a real legit budget.
Well, that's the key to those online fundraising apps or programs, is that you have to have a fan base.
Yeah.
You have to have you have to know who your audience is, and you have to know that they're going to show up.
Yeah, and if you don't have that, that's where you're kind of screwed, and it goes to not having people given.
I mean, you have to have a brand that you're either making the film about, or you are the brand. If you're a celebrity, you can raise money.
Yeah, 100%, and I think that's what makes them successful, is when they have that. And a lot of indie films in North Carolina don't have that. They don't have the followers. They don't have that, either the fan base or like the person being the fan themselves, someone who's known or things like that. You get Nathan Fillion and, Wash from Serenity and Firefly and all that, wanting to make a Comic-Con documentary. People are all over that. Nathan Fillion can say, I'm going to sign the script, and people want that, but there's no incentive that I can give that people are truly going to want. A PDF of the script, a signed poster, things like that aren't going to get people saying, oh, I'll give $30, I'll give $40, I'll go these higher tiers of it. You need to have something to give. And they say, I think 10 or 15% of your Kickstarter budget should be just for the incentives, because by the time you get all of those made and packaged and sent out and all of that, that's a good amount of money right there, if you're doing t-shirts or posters or anything like that. And so that kind of defeats the purpose if you have a small budget, when a lot of that is going to delivering these incentives. So it kind of works if you're doing an Exploding Kittens game or something like that, that can really spread like wildfire to strangers. But
it also helps to have probably the most popular internet cartoonist on your side.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That comes with the fan base. That comes with having a solid following that's already going to be there, probably no matter what you're doing. But something like the Super Films, Where We're Meant to Be, things like that, without having people already kind of on board, it's really limiting what you're going to be able to do. You'll get a couple people that might see that a friend donated, and they'll look at it and be like, all right, that looks kind of cool. But
and Indiegogo is even worse in that respect in some way, because it's one thing if you're trying to make a goal and you promise perks and you don't meet the goal, and you say, well, we didn't meet the goal. But on Indiegogo, you still get money.
Yeah.
So you still have to fulfill those
funded.
perks. And what if one of the perks are you get a copy of the film on DVD? There's no guarantee you're even going to make the film now.
Yeah.
So how are you going to fulfill that perk?
Yep.
Do you have to give that money back? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, one of the biggest problems I've been seeing with crowdfunding is that when people start it, they haven't even thought about what their audience is. And so they just pitch their Kickstarter videos or whatever at other filmmakers. And I feel like we're the wrong crowd for trying to raise money for your film.
Yeah.
hey, that's great. You're trying to raise money for your project. Guess what? I'm trying to raise money for my project too.
Yeah.
So should I give you my $20 or should I keep it for my project?
And filmmakers are notoriously po.
And that's happened where I've given money to friends who had Kickstarters because I wanted to support them. You know, I didn't necessarily, you know, maybe what the film or comic they were doing wasn't quite what I would normally go for, but you know, because it's them, I do.
Doesn't
and
have
that's
enough
kind of what I
money.
feel like it's coming with the friends and family if I were to do it. And so it's like, all right, well, that's $20 that didn't go to my film, you know, but I was happy to do that. And if I put one out, they would probably give me 20, and it's like, all right, we've now exchanged $20 for each other's thing. But there's no strangers, there's no, you know, large fan base that are giving the money. And so I think Kickstarter and stuff, it's really tough at this level. Not impossible. I know friends who have had successful Kickstarters, and it's usually a smaller amount of, you know, 5 or 10,000 to do something, and even that's a lot, you know. But they get it done. But for the most part, I think most of those are not the best way to go at an unknown indie level with no star, with no, you know, special type of incentive to.
Yeah,
order.
if that's your only like shining light, then probably not going to work out, or you're not going to raise like a huge budget off of it. And you definitely need like investors.
Yeah.
And you need to go the more traditional route of trying to raise money that way.
I think.
But you know, it is a tool. It is a tool
Yeah.
to kind of raise money if you know who your audience is.
I think one of the best things you can do with Kickstarter as an indie filmmaker is if you're looking for like finishing funds. So if you can go out there and shoot your movie and maybe you don't have enough to do the effects you need, or you don't have enough to edit it fully or get score or something, if you can show people a bunch of what you've done, that can go a long way, because then even strangers can watch that and be like, holy shit, that's an awesome trailer. I want to see that movie. I will happily give $15, $20 or whatever for them to finish that because I want to see it. But when you're going in there with, you know, a talking head on a video saying, I'd really like to make this movie, you know, it's an ensemble film about people, you know, dealing with these moments in their life, that's not going to really draw a lot of people in. Yeah, and of course it's only one type of fundraiser. You know, there are other fundraisers if you're, I don't know, if you're making like a film on poverty or something like that, you can do special talks. You know, you can find, you know, things that are already dealing with poverty and all that, and kind of latch on to them and, you know, try to find their crowds and, you know, go to where they're doing talks or conferences or whatever and say, hey, I'm trying to make this documentary on poverty, you know, and you can find people that way. So there's certainly other type of fundraising things, but those are very tough to kind of find and hit on with what we're doing.
Well, I think that trying to figure out who your crowd is, who your audience is definitely key. And, you know, I also agree with you, like having finishing funds or having something to show before you get started. Like Cary did fantastic on Kickstarter, but they had already shot like quite a bit of things for that trailer of theirs. And how much money did they raise on Kickstarter? It was like an insane amount.
What was this?
Cary.
Ooh, good.
It's on
Yeah, I don't
Netflix.
know. Oh, okay.
You should check it out.
I will check it out, yeah.
Yeah, but having that proof of concept that they did is what put them over.
Yeah, it's a really great proof of concept. When you see a guy in a car that's flying through the air and he climbs on top of his car and he's firing guns at people, that's pretty badass.
Yeah. And see, that's a specialized market too. Like if you have a certain horror film, you know, if you have, you know, kind of like Mario Warfare did, you know, there's, you know, people who are strangers are going to see something like that, or people who enjoy those type of films of a dude climbing on a car and shooting people. That's, you know, like you said, that's your fan base. So those
And
are
I wanna
much
know where
easier
that
to
scene
get.
was in Where We're Meant to Be, why there was no scene like that.
Exactly. Had I known about it, I would have definitely stolen it and put it in.
I
We could
think-
have doubled our money right there.
I think Tom Gore on top of a pickup truck shooting people is what you needed.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, it's on the festival circuit. It's not distributed, so we can still go shoot that and edit it in.
Then run a separate Kickstarter campaign and only use
Yeah,
that footage.
there you go. There's the finishing funds. We'll show the movie and be like, we want to include this film in this shot. Give us more money, and there you go. That's it.
The entire film
So what we're
is
saying
like
is Tom
an opener
Gore
for this one
needs to
shot.
be on the truck shooting people. So Tom Gore, reach out to Mike, help him shoot people from a pickup
Who is this
truck.
Tom Gore guy?
Who is Tom Gore?
He's writing me every day saying, write me something, write me something. He wants to work.
He's writing letters?
Like messages,
Love
some
letters.
letters, yeah.
Yeah, he
Things cut out of magazines.
The letters
I
are cut out,
get,
pasted.
yeah, I get letters. They're scented with perfume, sealed with a kiss.
So
Yeah.
nice, man.
Yeah.
The photos are a little graphic, but
Yeah.
I mean they're free photos. Not totally against it. This took a really weird turn.
Yeah, it really did.
Well,
So that's about fundraising.
It's still well, that's part of fundraising
Yeah.
sometimes, you know.
There's your perk. Tom Gore will come to your house.
Perfumed
right.
and naked.
Right there.
All right. So, okay. Earlier today, I saw an article online by a guy named. No, I'm going to switch the camera back to me. There we go. Earlier today, I saw an article online by a guy named Richard Harrington, who is a long time. This dude's been making tutorial videos forever. He does them for London.com. You know, he used to do them for Adobe years ago. He's a video guy. And it was about losing value in video and film, or the declining value of video and film. And I sent it to both of you to get your ideas. So you both have read it. What are your initial thoughts on this piece?
And back to us.
Mm-hmm.
Needed more pictures. There was lots of words.
There's definitely a declining value in video because there's so much of it out there, and so many people are doing it. It's lost value. I think that's what his article was about. Was that video isn't valued anymore? It's just content that's used to sell something else, whether it's a cereal or a phone or something like that. It's just now content that's just devalued to sell something else. I feel like video is that. I mean, you look at YouTube, and YouTube is the profitable entity there, not the content. Content is free. People just upload whatever they want. The content is important. The app is important, or the website or whatever it is.
Or the ads they can attach to it,
Yeah, it's he gave an analogy that that the way video is being consumed now is in bits and pieces. People don't even watch full things, even like tutorials or educational things. They just go and grab what they want to know and then take from that. His analogy was like, you don't go into a restaurant, go back into the kitchen and just sample something that looks like it might be good and just walk out. You sit down, you enjoy the full meal. People aren't doing that with video. They're not watching a full video. They're just taking out what they want or watching what they want and going to something else.
Yeah. And it's like, having the buffet. You go to a buffet, like I like Golden Corral. I'm happy to go there and eat their shitty steak and potatoes every once in a while, but it's not the same as going to a nice steakhouse. But everything's treated now as this buffet that, you want all of these options, you want all of these things. And like the article talked about having, the cable company that gives you the most channels, or Netflix that has, this many movies and things like that. But it's so saturated with stuff. You have so many choices and there's so much out there that's, this quantity over quality that, it makes it harder to find the quality stuff. And a lot of times the quality stuff isn't even really there because there is so much other stuff that there's not room for it, or it's not even seen or known because so much stuff is monetized, or they're looking for short little 90-second pieces that people can be in and out with. And so it makes it really tough when you do want to go and sit down at the restaurant and have a good meal when there's just buffets everywhere of all of these different videos and content.
The thing that got me about it was that there's this still increasing demand for content, right? But it's not from the people who consume content. It's from the people who want to attach content to whatever it is they're trying to sell. That we're just so saturated right now that consumers, it's just too many choices. It hits me. I used to love long movies. Now when I try to watch a movie, I'm just like, well, what's the shortest thing I can get through right now? Which is really kind of screwing me on some really great films, because it's just like, oh man, I just don't have 2.25 hours to sink into this right now. And I feel like with the glut of content, that's why these dreaded cat videos that Richard Harrington talks about are popular, because it's something simple, it's something easy to take in.
It's digestible.
Yeah, there you go. It's digestible.
Yeah, but I mean, attention spans have gone crazy. I mean, there's been things that, something might be 7 or 8 minutes long that are people like, too long.
Mm-hmm.
Give me, 60 seconds is my max. Show me when it's on Instagram. I want the 15-second version. I don't need
Well,
the
when
whole
this right here
video.
is like dictating how you're consuming media, you've got too much going on here. You've got games, you've got Facebook, Instagram, whatever that you're trying to keep up with. Oh, and there's a video. Let me watch that. No, it's too long.
Well,
Yeah.
well, the thing is, with attention span, that's a really hard argument to make because, on YouTube, like, geez, if you look at the analytics for almost any YouTube video, like, you're going to lose half your audience in the first 30 seconds. Like, everybody sees that same slump on their analytics, but people are binge watching shows, man. Like they get 10 episodes of House of Cards, and they watch them all in a day or two.
It's
That takes them.
because House of Cards there aren't 100 episodes.
Mhm.
If there were 100 episodes, they wouldn't be binge watching it. They'd be taking little chunks and pieces of it. Because there's such a limited amount, the value of it goes up. And then, like the article says, it talks about video games. There aren't a lot of video games out there, and you can't readily make your own video game to, mimic something like Halo. So the value of it rises. I mean, and that's why you can charge more for it. The thing with video and film is that there's just so much of it out there. The value is plummeted. I mean, people don't care for film like they used to. Now, if the studio started saying, "Hey, we're only putting out, one film a year," and it's like that's all you got in the theater were like 5 films for the course of the year, pretty sure those 5 films would be pretty popular. People would go
And there'd be
see
a lot
them.
more value to them.
Yeah.
They'd make sure that they were films that were going to make money.
I mean, it's just supply and demand. There's just so much film and video content out there that people don't value it anymore.
The other thing too, it depends on what they're watching, like when and what they're watching. Like, House of Cards, they're gonna sit, people will do Game of Thrones or, whatever show it is, but that's also a certain time of their day. That's also a certain venue, your media. So say Saturday, late evening or whatever, after they eat dinner, like, all right, now we're gonna watch shows and we're gonna watch 6 episodes of House of Cards, and then tomorrow we're gonna watch, a few more or whatever. But when they're on Facebook and they get off of work and they're scrolling through Facebook, that's where any type of content that you're showing there, you're screwed if it's too long, because their attention is not going to be there. They're not going to sit there and give 14 minutes to, somebody says, "Oh, check out this awesome short film." Most of the people are going to be like 14 minutes, maybe later, and then they never get to it. I mean, there was, when Prince died, Kevin Smith does a lot of speaking engagements where he gets up there and he just talks. And he's got this amazing, 30-minute talk where it's just him at a podium talking about how he was going to do this Prince documentary, and he went, and Prince was, just batshit crazy at the time, and doing these listening things, and it's just a hilarious story about all of the things that he encountered. And I almost put that on when all these other things of Prince were there, and then I realized no one's going to fucking listen to this for 30 minutes, and so you kind of already, even as a, someone who makes content and wants people to watch things, that's still already something coming into my mind of like, I know what, people are, as they're scrolling through Facebook, if they see some guy talking for 30 minutes, that's not the thing that they're going to stop for 30 minutes and do. They want to get through, they want to see the pictures, they want to see the quick, funny 30-second, you're never going to believe what happens in this commercial. They're going to see the 90-second, whatever popular video is at that time, and then move on, and so there's a different time when they're sitting down and watching those episodes, and they've got, say, 12 hours of a weekend to devote to TV or movies, and there's all these great shows out there, and maybe it's House of Cards that they choose.
I totally
when they
sit
choose
down at night, make a TV dinner, get comfy on the sofa, and just start looking at cat videos.
Yeah. I look at you and I can tell that's what happened.
45 seconds.
And the thing is,
No,
there's
you're
so
right,
many
though.
quality shows
Yeah.
out there that even if it is nightly, they get home, you do all your things, you eat dinner and all that, and you've got an hour and a half or 2 hours to kill before bed. And so you catch up on a couple of the CBS shows, or you watch 2 episodes of House of Cards, and the next day you watch 2 more. Well, with all that time you're putting towards the House of Cards, you know, you're missing Silicon Valley, you're missing Game of Thrones, you know, and so you do that on the weekend, and there's all these great shows out there, but while that's happening, there's all these other movies, there's all these other shows that are being missed because that finite time you have for programming is filled with this. And so it's kind of back to the thing you're saying, there's so much content out there that how do you get them to choose yours? How do you get them to invest in yours when it's not like, you know, a certain film festival crowd who's there with that certain purpose in mind, but you know, someone at home on Netflix or these thousands of titles with known stars and featured videos and all that, if Where We're Meant to Be ends up on that, if Superfans ends up on that, how do we get them to watch our content among all this other stuff? And that's where it becomes nearly impossible even to get on there, let alone be popular on there.
Yeah.
So it sounds like one of the things, it's not just getting on platforms, but it's the platform itself that can dictate how people interact with it in terms of their attention span.
Absolutely.
Like YouTube. I'm thankful YouTube exists. You know, it's nice that there's as much bad content, there's really good content on there too. But that whole site is created in such a way to make you want to click away onto something else, even no matter how engrossed you are in that video. You know, because right there on the side of the screen, it's just, this looks awesome, this looks awesome, this looks awesome. You know, hey, maybe you want to see this other awesome thing, and it's really hard sometimes not to click it. You know?
And it's also finding things on there. So you go on YouTube, how am I going to see, you know, Parlay or something like that, unless I'm searching for Dean, I'm searching for his movie, somebody's in it that has a name, something like that. You know, there's all these other videos, and on there, the related videos and all of those things are all, you know, so different that even if you're on YouTube and stuff, how do you find that following? How do you get people to click on yours? That's how you find it, yeah. True.
Well, Parlay's on
But
Vimeo, isn't it?
Yes. Well, it's also on YouTube. I think one of the ways you find it is or get people to find your work is by getting on programs where you can talk about it, look people in the eye, and give them the website.
Go to YouTube and search Parlay. Dean.
It's good. It was in Film Spark last. Oh, and the camera back on me. It was in Film Spark last year. It was cool. Camera back on you.
Thank you. Yeah. It's there's a glut of noise out there, and it's impossible to get through it. And the only way to get YouTube to advertise you is to have like millions of like views and hits.
Mm-hmm.
But even you talk to Piper and Monique of Frequency, their web series, they have millions. Some of their episodes have millions of views, and they get buried.
Yeah.
So I mean, there isn't that even that isn't the magic bullet for breaking through the noise.
If we're gonna get onto the YouTube thing, I feel like for scripted content, YouTube is probably like the worst place for it. It's not built for it. Everything I see on YouTube that is really popular are just like video blogs.
Personality based
Personality-based things, yeah. Those are the hugest things. Now, I'm not saying that they all suck. There's some really good ones. Every Frame of Painting is really good. Nerd Writer is really good. Filmmaker IQ is really good.
But they have a specific thing, and it's the person who's hosting it.
Mm-hmm.
That is what drives that channel, and it's not really the quality. Oh, look, they shot this on a red or something like that. That isn't what drives YouTube at all.
No, and I've seen very little scripted programming on YouTube that really gets a following. I mean, the closest you might see is like a very short 2-minute per episode comedy series, but other than that, nothing really sticks. There's a lot of good stuff on Vimeo, scripted wise, but they don't have the eyeballs that YouTube does.
No.
And so, as indie filmmakers, what do you think the platform should be to get the films out there and in front of people?
Something that doesn't have a ton of content. It's got to be something that's just chic, kind of unique, has limited amount of content. And I mean, there's got to be a cool factor. People got to want to go to that. You know, I mean, what's cool about YouTube is anybody can get on YouTube and post whatever they want. That's what drives people to post on YouTube. If you have like a film festival style website that only has a limited amount of films, then you've just eliminated what makes YouTube so cool to people.
Because they have those out there, you know, they have sites that are more of just kind of indie films or documentaries or things like that, and it's got a following, but it's not a huge following, not like, you know, YouTube numbers or things like that. So, you know, you might get thousands or this or that, but at the same time, even those still have quite a bit of content. You know, so getting yours seen, getting yours noticed among all of that, unless they somehow feature it for whatever reason. Here's our featured video of the week or featured series of the week or whatever, and people are like, all right, I'll check it out. You know, it's not like they're really stumbling, you know, across that, short of searching maybe for content, you know, like they do on Netflix, where you're like, you know what, I'd like to see an indie drama. And so they go to indie drama section, and then there's, you know, 70 posters, and they look through and be like, all right, that one sounds pretty good, I'll give it a shot. You know, but that's not happening.
Even Vimeo does that. I mean, they've tried numerous things. They go to subscription, to do, you know, tip jar, whatever, to try and become more friendly to the indie filmmaker, or to get more people to watch their content as opposed to YouTube, and they just can't do it. It's because they're kind of marketed more toward the professional niche, more toward you know, not just cat videos. And it shows. I mean, they don't have the viewership that YouTube does. People want their cat videos.
And most of the way, I think people even things that I find on Vimeo and stuff are via Facebook, and it's somebody saying, check out this powerful short film or things like that. And again, it kind of goes back down to one of those things where it's like a 3 or 4 minute, you know, quick short or something like that. I rarely see on Facebook, even from filmmaker friends, do I see anything about check out this feature film, check out this new series, things like that. It's always short little spots. You know, someone will be maybe a festival, say, hey, I got a film playing in this festival, or I just saw this film at a festival. You know, maybe someone will say, oh, this, you know, caught Room on, you know, this Netflix, or, you know, whatever it is. But that's not even happening, you know, very frequently. So even word of mouth of friends, I'm not seeing a ton of stuff to where it's bringing me to new things. I'm just seeing the most popular Facebook video that, you know, I'm seeing on 3 other, you know, from 3 other people in my feed, or when I go to whatever news site or whatever, it's like, you won't believe this video, and it's someone doing a proposal or some shit, and that's the stuff that's out there in people's faces.
That's an interesting point you bring up, because I don't think any of the platforms out there that really have features have a good way to share them with other people. You know, the most we can really do is just say, hey, I saw this movie, and then post about it on Twitter or Facebook or what have you. You know, and that seems to happen a lot with the larger films. You know, like everybody's going crazy about Deadpool or Captain America or whatever, but, you know, that's where, you know, indies are kind of getting screwed again, is that there's limited places to see the film. So it's like, hey, I saw where we're meant to be at this film festival. Well, that's great. Most people can't see it. It's hard to share that. So,
But see, that's where the online can change the ballgame a little bit, because you could post it online, but there isn't like a go-to place, one go-to place. Oh, I got to see the films that are on the festival circuit. Let me go to this website and check it out. I mean, there's nothing like that. Each festival, you know, or there are websites that kind of host things like that, but you can't find them. You can't search for them. They're hard to find.
Yeah, I mean, and there are out there, but yeah, same thing. Most you can do is put a link to it. Like, well, I have a friend. Her name is Ash Patino, and you know, they had a couple $100,000 feature that they made, and it's on Vimeo, and it's for $1.99, and it's called Halcyon. And I put it on my page, and I'm like, hey, my friend made a movie, you know, here's the trailer, and it's a really gripping trailer, and it's a cool concept, and looks good, and they actually had some names in it, the You Shit on My House guy from Can't Buy Me Love, you know, and things like that, but I don't even know if anybody went and paid $2 for that, because it kind of goes back to that content and how much time people have and what they're willing to do. If they have their DVR and it's got 42 items on it, and they've really been wanting to catch the new season of Orange is the New Black, then they're not getting on this, Vimeo on demand that I'm putting on my Facebook and saying, all right, the trailer is pretty good, I'm gonna check this out, pay $2 and see that movie. Instead, they'll be like, maybe they'll like the trailer and they'll hit like on Facebook, and then they'll scroll on and see all the rest of the stuff before dinner's ready. And then they have dinner and they sit down and they turn on Netflix and they watch House of Cards or they watch something like that. So, even there, when you're sharing those things, I think it's so hard for people to want to invest their time in unknown things because maybe they're afraid it will suck, or they're just really excited to see the new Game of Thrones season or episode, that those things have now taken the priority, the precedence over those other things. And so even with posting them, I don't know how effective that is for people.
Yeah, that's why it's so important to have a named star in your film,
Totally.
or to have a brand that your film is about, because people immediately, they don't know anything. I know this actor, I like this actor, I'm gonna watch this film.
Yeah. And I do that.
Oh, I know that brand. Yeah, I've been wanting to see that. I've been wanting to see them make a movie about this. If you don't have that, then it's really next to impossible to get somebody to watch your movie. Unless you know them, or you've talked to them, or they got great reviews from some source that you respect,
Yeah, and that's still, the name is huge, and that's the big draw for indie films and festivals, obviously, and Netflix, things like that. I've done that to where I'll see a film and be like, oh, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she was really great in this film, and I'll go on IMDb and start looking up other movies that were indies that she was in, or other films that, and then I'll kind of seek them out that way. But it's kind of like on Netflix, maybe they'll click on that person's name and then it'll pop up 3 other movies that they were in, and then they'll see that. But if you don't have that name in there and you're among 300 independent dramas, independent comedies, whatever your genre is, even if you have a great poster, even if you have a kick-ass logline, content that you're competing with, and it's going to be very hard for people to even find you, let alone choose you.
I think that's one of the reasons why horror does so well, because you've got a built-in audience, you've got built-in genres within horror. Vampire film. Oh, I like vampires. And it's a character. It's somebody it's vampires. So I'm going to check that out. The DVD cover looks a little cheesy, but, we'll give it a shot anyway.
Sometimes that's what brings them in. The thing with horror and sci-fi is that sometimes the shittier the better. That people will get on Netflix and they will go to the horror section, and I've done that with people where they're like, well, let's just find something that we've never heard of or whatever, and it's always people who like fucking horror movies, and they want to see this weird scary ghost movie or whatever, but they're not doing that with indie dramas. That's a very particular type of thing, and so you get 20 minutes in that and you turn it off. But the shitty horror movie, they're like, I'm on board, man, this is horrible and I love it. And and so genre films of sci-fi and horror definitely have a fully different
and most indie films that you hear about that are kind of in the level that we're in, that actually break through and make it horror films, Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch Project, stuff like that. That stuff starts low budget and it can break through. But a drama, you really need a name actor, or you need something like really incredible about it.
Yeah.
Or if it's like a topic base,
Well, it's like Sundance and stuff. Festivals now, if it's not a name, it's something like Tangerine, shot on the iPhone and had a very particular type of look and all of that. So people are like, oh, I'd be interested in seeing that. So it has this type of
it's got a gimmick
that brings them in. But if you look at all the features this year on Sundance, I think there's 12 or 16 only. Almost every single one has a name, or has something about it in that regard. And so, short of having a gimmick or a name, to draw those people in, or especially like a genre, you're kind of screwed, and that's the big question, is how do you get that out there if you're not falling within that,
Sounds like what we should all do then is just create horror movies, and nothing but horror movies. Just every indie filmmaker make a horror movie.
That's the next one. It's the next one I'm trying to work on. You would know Alex, Lex Wilson?
Oh,
Alex, right?
he's in Where We're Meant to Be. I do know Alex. Yeah, he was in your film.
Yeah. So me and him are writing, he's writing, I'm just kind of sitting back. But he's writing a horror film. I think we're going to try and do another horror film together. So.
Awesome.
Heard it here first.
What's that?
Heard it here first.
Breaking
First.
news. Lex Wilson.
He's a good writer, too. He's won some
Yes.
awards.
All right, so we've been going about an hour now, so I guess I'll wrap it up with one final question. What do you think is probably like the biggest obstacle to indie filmmakers today, and where do you see indie film in the next 5 years?
I think the biggest obstacle is basically what we've been talking about.
Wait, we should switch
getting it out
seats for
there.
this, so it's totally out of sync.
Your continuity is all over the place. I
think continuity is the problem for indie filmmakers these days.
it is a big problem.
Oh, yes it is.
Yeah, I think it's just what we're talking about, that getting it seen, getting it out there. I think, getting it made is tough as it is, and getting it made in a quality way that, you can compete with other things at festivals or people's attention and have, good sound, good visuals, things like that, where you don't already have a mark against you as people are watching it. But just getting it in front of people, getting eyes on it, especially with any type of serious distribution, getting on HBO, getting on Netflix, the hardest thing of all, of course, getting picked up and put in theaters. Those are just such long shots, and they're so hard to do. That even great films I've seen, at festivals, that some of them that had names in them are shelved. They're not shelved, but maybe they end up doing their own direct distribution, with Amazon or DVDs or online, streaming, things like that, because they couldn't get picked up. And it's better than a lot of stuff I will see, on cable or especially Netflix. And even those didn't have a chance. And so, without a name, without a big budget, without something very specialized in your film, finding an audience is very tough, and that's key to obviously, doing more and getting that one out there and finding those eyes for it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's getting eyeballs on your film, because the resources out there that you can get access to equipment that makes your film look good. And, if you work hard enough, you can tell a good story. So making the film itself, you have access to that as an indie filmmaker. But you don't have access to the marketing budgets that the big studios have to really push your film. You have access to the internet, but most people can't spend their entire day marketing their film. There are entire teams in studios that do nothing but market films. They spend lots of money, they spend lots of time, and indie filmmakers just can't do that, even though they have access to a marketing platform like the internet. So finding an avenue that is specific for finding niche indie films is needed. But more than that, you need people who want that. People really don't want that because they're so overloaded with content right now.
And
Like
good
Michael said,
content.
you get a limited amount of time to watch a few things. You've got so many great TV shows, movies that are already out there that have bigger names, bigger budgets, or things you are anticipating and want to watch. So why are you going to take a chance on something that's just, you've never heard of? So, finding a way to make indie film presentable that an audience wants to see it is a challenge.
Yeah. And in 5 years, I guess with indie film in 5 years, I see bigger production value, but I don't know that the problem with distribution is going to go away. When I made my first film in 2001, back then, like the Canon XL1, it was an SD camera, but it was one of those prosumer cameras that, still cost a couple grand. And so, to make a film at that time was still quite an undertaking, but now people are making, films with DSLRs and iPhones and editing programs that are free online. There's so much more they can do now that they couldn't do 10 or 15 years ago, even before YouTube was a thing with, streaming and showing those things, that I think, now with Blackmagic cameras and 4K cameras and all of these things that are getting cheaper and cheaper and easier to use and more accessible, that people are going to have higher quality. And stories are always going to be up and down. You know, some people tell good stories, some people are going to tell shitty stories. But there's still going to be that onslaught of video and these choices that are out there, that it's going to probably be even harder, you know, to get eyes on something, even if you're right there with them. You have a great 4K video, or you've shot on film even, or whatever it is that you've done. It's just, I mean, this pool of things is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and all these distribution avenues, those aren't growing in the same way. And so in 5 years, I feel it's going to be harder than it is now. What do you think?
I agree.
And on this bleak episode,
Yeah.
don't talk.
Wait, can we end on something positive?
Yeah, let's end on something positive.
All right. So what's positive about indie film?
Yeah, like what is it? Okay, even with all the insurmountable odds.
All right. Here's something
Even with all the horrible odds, the fact that you can put all your effort in this, not get a single pair of eyeballs, what makes you do it?
Here's something that's positive about indie film is that you can create whatever you want. And you have the opportunity to see something that you've never seen before. Case in point, when I took the Super Films to the LA Web Fest a couple of years ago, I watched a web series that was the greatest thing I've ever seen, I think. It was a Chinese web series, and there were only a few episodes of this web series. And the guy has never released them online. I've tried to find this thing and share it. But I saw it when I was there. It's called Lock, Poop, Flush. It is the greatest, and it's about a guy, and it's totally serious. It's like a reality cam. There are like cameras in the bathroom, and he's stuck in the bathroom, and it's like, you know, day 4, you know, and he's like, he can't get out, and he's like eating toothpaste to survive. It's the greatest thing, and he's just kind of locked in from the inside. But it's like the greatest. I never would have discovered that through like any of the studio systems. Only independent cinema and the independent cinematic mind that can kind of come up with that and get that out there. So.
Nice. I gotta say, I mean, I don't make films for distribution. You know, making Where We're Meant to Be was one of the highlights of my life. The people that I met on there, the people I worked with, the finished product that we have, you know, I'm insanely proud of it. I had the best time making it. So if this film never goes anywhere, which it very well may not, you know, with the way distribution is and stuff, you know, if it plays some festivals and then it dies a death with, you know, making DVDs for the cast and crew and putting it online and maybe getting a couple sales here and there, if that's all it ever does, I still wouldn't change a thing. I'm still, you know, over the moon happy about the whole process of doing it. And being able to make a film that the cast and crew is proud of, and making those connections and those friendships that started on that film that are still strong now, and making the connections in the professional capacities of now working on other people's films that I met because of that film. All of that stuff, I believe, is why you should be making film. You should be making a film because you want to tell a story that you want to share, even if it's, you know, you and your mom and a few friends in a basement on a Saturday night watching this film. That's still a worthy thing. You still made that film. You still created that art. And then, you know, all the connections that you make and all the things that can build from that, I think, are huge. And so at the end of the day, you know, even as down as this all sounded, you know, with the reality of it, you know, we want people to know the realities of making these, you know, films and trying to get them distributed. As bleak as all of that sounds, I think still making the films and still making the friendships and going through that process is one of the greatest things you can do. And I think you should still do it, even if it is on an iPhone and whatever free Windows editing software there is. You know, create that art, get it out there, even if it's a small amount of eyes. The fact that somebody's seeing it and that you've done it, I think is huge, and I think is very worthwhile.
And that, kids, is one to grow on.
The more you know.
Right.
Can you put a little star in?
No,
in
no, I
editing?
can't. I can't put no stars in. I could.
I'll fucking
But I'm
download
not.
it. I'll put my own star in, and then
But
I'll
you-
re-upload it on YouTube because
Yeah.
there's eyes on YouTube.
There you go.
I'll
Well,
say Brad Pitt in this new commercial, and then they'll watch it and be like, "Is that Brad Pitt? Where's he at?"
this Brad Pitt
Star will
commercial
come in
blew my
credits, and
mind.
people have never been in it. But
I saw that commercial. It was posted by somebody who used to be in the group.
What?
Brad Pitt commercial.
I was just making up a star.
Was it the commercial where he took a pill to be smart?
Yes.
Was it a Japanese commercial or something that he did?
Yeah.
You've probably seen it before.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for both coming on here today. Sorry I can't be as eloquent as Bob, but
I feel gypped.
He can re-record it. He's getting back tonight. He can record
Yeah.
it.
I'm gonna send this to him to the lower third song. He can just like intercut himself, cut me out, redo him, adding the questions.
Yeah.
And enjoy that.
Like, I'm going to cut to Konrad, and then it just goes to your first question. Your whole intro is redone.
I would just hope that he would just overdub everything we just said
Yeah.
here.
That would be great too. That would be great.
3 different voices.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just close it out here. All right, so that's this episode of Local Film Talk. Again, go on iTunes, rate us, review us, comments, and YouTube.
He's like,
Thanks, Dean, you're throwing me off my
"What's up?"
game.
He's got to re-record it.
I gotta re-record all this. Fuck you guys.
You guys ain't say shit.
And then
I was admiring you.
Byron.
I thought you were doing a great job.
Doing a great job.
Doing a good job. You just like uber left.
Yeah.
Conrad's like,
It's like, all right, that's the fucking
what's up,
show,
guys?"
motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Enjoy your
I know-
week,
I know I
shitheads.
come across as awkward on camera all the time.
You come across as awkward.
Mhm.
Is awkward a German word for sexy?
Yes, yes it is. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hit us up on Twitter, trianglefilmcommunity.com. That's where we're at. Until next time.